Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Brian back here with Rustling Beards. Wanted to do a quick video on bleeding the brakes. This is kind of a follow-up video to a previous video that I did and uploaded. Um, I'm going to try to put that link to that video somewhere on the top of this video series, whatever series video, whatever this is. I'm gonna so basically what I did, which I'm going to show you guys here in just a second, I replaced the master cylinder and all front lines and merged in the back line into the existing back line. This truck's been sitting for a while. I did a Jaguar front suspension on it. That's why I'm doing the front suspension, or I'm sorry, the front brake lines. And then the back, just because they needed to be bled because it had set for so long, and then the reservoir had went dry, the old reservoir. I replaced this reservoir. So with that said, I'm going to shut up and just kind of talk you guys through it a little bit as I'm doing it. Okay, so the design of this master cylinder, this came off of eBay. It's kind of a popular one on eBay. It's got these crossover pipes right here. This mount with these lines and the way it mounts to this master cylinder makes these very, very tight. In fact, this one is like lodged kind of, so I have to kind of manipulate the lines to get this back in here. But I was going to try to bleed this and just by cracking these, and I decided it'd probably be better if I could go ahead and get them off so I could use the bleeder kit, the bench bleeding kit. For those of you that don't know, you could pretty much do the bench bleed on the vehicle, especially like if you don't have a vise or a vise that's good enough. You do have to get in there and push the brakes, so it is a little more difficult. And this is the first one that I've done on the vehicle, but we'll see how it goes. So I'll take you guys along. I'll try to cut in whenever I can, if needed. The other thing, once I get the master cylinder bled out, the combination valve, or yeah, it's called a combination valve. The reason is because it's got a proportioning valve here, and then it's got the residual valve for the back, so it's given the right amount of brake line pressure for the back line, for the drum brakes, and then for the manual disc brakes, it's got the proportioning valve for each side. That's why you have 3 lines going out. I could have capped one of these and then just ran one of these down and then just spliced it down there, but I figured since it's there, why not just use it? I mean, it is what it is. Now, it has a pressure switch right here, and this is the pressure switch in there it's connected to like a rod. That rod will go one way or the other, and that's what gives like your brake light switch on your car to turn on. If the system senses a pressure loss on one side or the other, or a pressure difference. Usually these combination valves will have a manual valve or manual release, something that you could push to either push, pull, depends on the makeup of, or how it's designed. But the purpose of that is to bypass this little internal valve in here. This one doesn't have it. They usually are right there. I don't know if that just speaks to it being cheaper. I don't really know. So what you've got to do is you have to get this is called a brake centering tool. Basically what this is, I'll try to get up close on this. So what this does is this will take the place of that brake light switch, and then you can see that little nipple right there. That'll actually go in and lock into that centering tool, the pressure piece, that plunger that goes in and out this way, and it locks it in place. So then that way I could go ahead and vacuum bleed the fronts and the rears, and I should be able to do so and not have any kind of issues. So with that said, let's see what kind of mess I can make. Okay guys, so I got you set up. Basically this bench bleeding process, right now what I'm doing is I'm filling the reservoirs up. So both of the tubes are completely submerged. So what's going to happen is that's got a bore that is connected to the pedal inside the cab there. So when you push that pedal, that bore is going to go this way and then go this way, you know, in and out, in and out. So there's air that gets trapped in the cylinder of that bore, and there's also air that gets trapped like from there to there in the master cylinder and the lines. So what this is going to do is it will suck out air and allow it to basically force the air, force the fluid should displace and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go real slow by hand first, and then I'll switch over to my foot if need be. But most likely, I think I'll be able to do this with my hand. I'm going to be listening for bubbles, and you let me know what you see. All right. Let me come out there and look real quick. All I want to do is look to see if there's any leaking coming out of these little cheap plastic ports. I don't see any. The fluid level didn't really go down any, which it shouldn't go down too terribly much. All right. I'll try to do some more. Let me know what you're seeing. I'm not hearing you say nothing. Okay, so something else I'm going to do. I've been doing full strokes of the pedal. Now I'm going to do like quarter. So I'm going to just push it down just a quarter. Try to engage the front cylinder, which is the cylinder closest to the cab. And then I'm going to take it all the way back down a few times. And then on the last time that I'm taking it all the way down to the floor, I'm going to go up only about a quarter of an inch and then cycle that back and forth. And that'll focus on the rear cylinder or the cylinder furthest away from the cab. Because you got to think this, the bore is made up of two, I guess, actual almost like pistons, if you will, one for the front and one for the back. So it's, you know, where it rides inside the master cylinder. And so, you know, doing the quarter inch out on both sides kind of make sure that you're hitting on both of the sweet spots, if you will, for both the front and the rear reservoirs. Still not leaking out, so that's good. All right, let me take a look at what you guys saw, and so I can kind of make a determination on what to do next. Okay, so a little bit more. I saw some line or some air in the lines, and I didn't really care for that, so I want to make sure to really, I don't know, do it right. It's a crazy concept, but I kind of want to be somewhat safe in this thing. So this can take some time, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So again, since I'm not out here, I'm just going to periodically check it, make sure it's not dripping and those fittings aren't leaking. Everything seems to be okay. I'm assuming everything is as it should be. So we'll keep going. Someone needs to tell Texas that it's September. It's like 93 degrees outside. Okay, so as you can see, I have switched out the rubber lines to these metal lines, or the copper, steel copper, whatever lines. The metal, or the what was going on is the master cylinder would not bleed out. It kept introducing air. So the way that these are designed is, you see that little nipple piece right here? So like that just goes into the flared connection, or the bubble fitting on that side, where the flare connection actually seats up with, and it literally just pushes in there. So what I was thinking might be happening is it could be sucking in air when I'm trying to bleed it out, and I wasn't getting a firm pedal. So I'm going to try this. Hopefully, the air that I'm seeing is real now, and we could actually get some progress here. So let's take a look. So I've got you zoomed in there. Let's look for some air bubbles. Also, kind of pay attention and see if it's leaking out the bottom too, if you can. I don't know if. Let's see if I can get you positioned a little better. I want you to be able to see both. Yeah, that'll be close enough. Is it going to stay right there? Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it's still a very, very soft pedal. So let me go ahead and I'm going to see what we can see when it comes to actual air bubbles. So this thing has been giving me an absolute fit to bleed, worse than I think any master cylinder I've ever had to mess with. What I ended up having to do, it would never give me a solid pedal. Well, I'm talking like straight to the bottom, but I couldn't see any air coming out of the reservoir when I had my pipes on there. So I went ahead and capped it. Um, what I mean by that is I just found some bolts that were of the right size, thread pitch and everything, and then threaded them in and just snugged them up enough to where it would just prevent fluid from coming out. When I did that, then I tried to hit the brake, and the brake is like rock hard, solid, and then there's like little spurts that would, come up from the fluid. That tells me that because my concern was that the reservoir between the front and the back seal, piston, whatever, whenever it was doing this number, that it was bleeding between the two, and it wouldn't allow one to the other get a good seal. And I thought it was introducing air, and I thought that the world was going to end, and it's just everything sky's falling mentality. So anyhow, anytime that you guys run into situations like that, just take a deep breath, go back to basics. And if you don't really understand what the basics are, I mean, obviously you can go on the interwebs. They've got tons of information there. But if you do understand the basics, it's easy even still to get ahead of yourself and to start hyper focusing and panicking, which is what I did. So I just went back, plugged the ports off, rock hard. So next things I'm going to go ahead and do is which I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it tonight because I've got to maneuver the thing around, but it's to go ahead and start bleeding the brakes themselves at each wheel. So that means I got to fight with this pain in the butt combination valve again to get the lines back on there. And yeah, I'm not really looking forward to that. And stinking, I don't know if you can see it or not. You can see the bubbling in the paint that I just painted that part because brake fluid got on it, which I warned you guys about already in another video, but this stuff is extremely caustic. I only put like 1 or 2 coats on that, so it is what it is. I mean, yeah, it's not like I'm building a show quality truck here. I'm building a driver, something I can enjoy. All right, so we're going to continue on. I just wanted to cut in real quick and let you know that's kind of what's going on or what was happening. And next thing is, like I said, start going to the 4 corners. I do have a vacuum bleeder that I'm going to attempt to use. Like I mentioned in the other video, or not, no, not other, well, yes, other video, but also this video. I got this little bad mamma jamma. This is going to screw in to the port right there in the, or actually, sorry, right there in the combination valve. And that will allow me, this will keep that little valve in there centered in a perfect world anyways. Hopefully it works. So that will allow that to stay centered in there. And then I should be able to pull vacuum on anything, anywhere in the system, and should be good to go. So, all right, let's do it. So, I'm going to turn you guys on to one of Harbor Freight's better tools, I think. There's a lot of variations on this. This is the Pittsburgh brake fluid bleeder auto refill kit. Basically, the auto refill kit is this and these little pedestals. This is designed for kind of a more modern car than what this one is. And I say that because it's designed that you screw this on, and these little legs set on a cylinder or a single screw-on style plastic cap reservoir. This one has got the metal one, that pops up, so this one won't work. You could run this without this at all. It's just basically this. I'm going to open it up, but I'm going to have to put my nozzle on here because these are like $35 or so, I think, is what I paid for this. Yeah, so like this is a picture of what it would look like if you had that style of reservoir. It's no frills, easy. It's super easy for a DIYer who's doing it yourself. All you need is an air compressor, and basically the air pressure over, I think, what is it called, like a Venturi effect or whatever, where it goes over here and it creates a vacuum. So in that vacuum, you basically just plug this bad boy in to your bleeder hose, and there you go. Now, one of the things I'm noticing on this particular unboxing that is interesting is they used to come with multiple different style tips, sizes. This one just has this. I'm assuming this one, as it wears down, I'm sure it'll get loose. And it may even be too tight for this older style system than the bigger bleeder valves or bleeder screw nipples. So yeah, but we're going to give that a shot. But when you suck this out, especially in an old system, I really want to make sure to get, there's nothing to have this thing halfway filled. So you really want to make sure that you're getting all of the fluid out of there that you can. And you do it. You just, your traditional, you go to the farthest away, next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then at the end of it, once you get, good steady streams, no actual leaks, the theory is you have a good pedal. And if you don't, you got to start scratching your head, backtracking, figuring it out. Non-ABS systems is a lot easier because you don't have to deal with the ABS module and putting it in any kind of maintenance mode or anything like that, and cycling the ABS valves. So the biggest thing that I'm concerned with on this is the connections, the unions between the two, left and right side brake line, where they fit into the actual brake hose, where they fit into the master cylinder. Because let's face it, folks, I did the brake lines. I did the double flaring. So, all right. So that's that little part of it. I'm going to go in. Once I get this going, I'll kind of give you a demonstration. I'm sure you could probably search the YouTube community, and there's probably thousands of people that have demos on how to use this. But I'll give you a quick little rundown of what it looks like once I actually start. Okay, so the master cylinder has been setting overnight, and it actually did not leak out any fluid. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all the connections and everything are good. It could just mean that there's so much air in the line that air is keeping the fluid from getting where it needs to go, like down the little tubes into each side. But it's at least it's not leaking like out of the direct ports and things like that. So that's kind of I'm going to look at the positive side of things. Next steps is I'm going to try to wiggle my fat belly under the rear tires. Don't really want to jack it up if I don't have to, but I think I'm going to have to. But again, trying to be positive. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one here, use my vacuum bleeder that I showed you guys, suck fluid out of this, and then go to that side, suck fluid out of that, and then go to this side, suck fluid out of that one, and then that one. And hopefully, if everything goes as planned, by the time I'm done round robin, maybe one time, then everything would be good to go and I'll have a pedal. If not, then we repeat the process. Hopefully not too many times, but I've had to do it, a few times in the past with different vehicles. Sometimes they're just more stubborn, but this will be the true testament of did we get everything the way we need to get. The other thing I wanted to show you, which I don't know if I showed you earlier video, yesterday, last night, whatever, is I've got my little centering tool plugged in right there. I think I talked to you about that, but basically that's where the switch goes for the it's got a plunger in there and it goes from the back brakes to the front brakes and vice versa. And if there's a pressure difference, then it's designed to suck one way or the other. And then normally the switch right there would cause a brake light switch to come on in your vehicle if you have that equipped. But in this instance, what it would actually do would be to lock that plunger either this way or that way, and then in which case you will get zero fluid out of the back of your, or whatever, back or front of your master cylinder. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this rocking and rolling. So I'm now under the passenger side rear wheel. That's going to be your bleeder screw right there. It's on the top. This is supposed to be a 1/4 inch, but I think it's more of a 3/8. Let me see if I can get it here one-handed. Yeah, it's 3/8. So I've got my ratchet. Basically all I'm going to do is spray some brake clean just to try to keep things at least somewhat surgical. Now, I'm going to let that set and dry just for a second. This very well could have leaking wheel cylinders. I don't know. This thing's not been on the road for a little bit. I can tell you I have a leaky pinion seal that I'm going to have to eventually take care of, but that's going to be a tomorrow issue or another day at least. But yeah, so there's my C-notch that I've done. So yeah, okay. So yeah, let me go ahead and get this. I'm just going to crack this open, see if things start dribbling out. I will be shocked if it does. So I'm going to have get my bleeder screw, get my vacuum port and everything hooked in here. I don't think I could film every little bit of this. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do all this and hold, but let me try to see what I can do. Okay. Sorry if you're getting some interference. I've got the hose hooked into the bleeder screw. So now I'm just going to push this trigger, let that vacuum suck. I'm going to actually put this on, get it to where it holds it in place. And then we're going to go monitor the cap and then keep coming back and monitoring this. Like I said, this could take some time, but then again, it could go pretty quick. So now all I'm going to do is start monitoring this one because this is for the rear, and eventually this will start going down. It's not going to be like sucking it down really quick, but it will start going down. I'm going to see, this is going to be a back and forth game. This is easier if you have two people. So it's not even sucking anything in right now. That's my air compressor. Sorry for the noise. I'll cut back in as soon as I have something to share. Okay, so I'm sorry again for the noise. The compressor's running. I did have to kind of top this off 2 times. I don't know if you can see it. You may or may not be able to see it, but it is slowly going down. And if you look, you can see that it's filling up full of fluid right there. So I'm going to crawl under there real quick, stop that, and then go. Okay, guys. So one of the good things about this, and it's clear, is look at the crap fluid that was in there. Now this fluid's probably been in there God knows how long. It should not be that dark. But the good news is we are flushing it. I flushed it to where it got the clear fluid that's in the reservoir. So now we're going to switch sides like I just said, and we're going to continue this process again. Okay, so don't know if you can see or not. Let's see if I can turn the light on here. So you may be able to see it pulsating through. I don't know. It's hard to see it. But anyways, it is going out. The fronts are going to be a little bit more hard. Sorry, dropped you there for a second. You can see it going down, actively going down. So I need to put some more in there, hang tight. Okay, that's probably going to be enough for that side. I am going to check to see if there are any leaks. I'm not seeing any leaks just yet. They will present themselves, I am certain of it. Okay, I'm going to stop that side and move it over to this side. Okay, this is the last one. You could see, I don't know if you can tell or not, it's plugged in. Right there's my bleeder screw, it's plugged in. Goes right down to there. We're going to turn it on, it's going to get loud, and you should be able to see. So sometimes you can watch it dance. So it's not coming through anything yet. Sometimes you can watch it dance. There it is. You can start seeing it right there. You can barely see it. Maybe you can see it filling up a little bit here. Maybe you can see it filling up. There you go. Now you can see it. You can see it flowing. See it dripping in there. Come up on the top side. You can see it draining way down. Sorry I had to set you guys down. It's a race. That's why it's hard to do with one person. You always want to make sure. I went through just about one whole bottle. I went through about one whole bottle of brake fluid. And I think I've sweat about one whole bottle of sweat. So it's hot and humid. I'm just giving this a chance to suck everything through. This doesn't mean that we're leak free per se. It just means that things are working. You can see it like a freeway going through there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off, check my pedal, and then kind of go from there. All right, guys, so I'm in here. Now's the moment of truth. There's the pedal. There you go. So I might do it again. Like, it's got good pedal and it's actually getting better the more I pump it. It's solid. So that's going to be the time where it's going to identify any leaks. The other thing that we're going to end up doing is letting things set and just kind of seeing what the leaks present themselves. I don't see any leaks coming out of the bottom there. I don't see any leaks coming out of there. I don't see any leaks coming out of there. I didn't mess with the back. That doesn't mean that it's not leaking, but at least it's an honest leak. Don't see any leaks coming out of there. I don't see anything coming out of there either. So we're going to let this set. All in all, I'm going to consider this done. That's real down and dirty, no frills, real time, how it's done. Obviously, you're going to see me clipping in and out a lot on this, simply because, to be frank with you guys, there was times I had to throw you on the ground because there is a race. I was letting the fluid in the reservoir get down way too low. In fact, truth be told, the fluid in the rear reservoir, which is this one here, got down so low I couldn't even see it anymore. So I had to hurry up. I might have introduced air into that system. Sometimes you could get lucky and that air will work itself out. Here's a couple other things that I have to contend on. This truck's set for a little while. And when I say a little while, I mean it's been over a year, 2 years since it's probably really hit the road. I don't even know what the condition of those back brakes are. I'm not taking the wheels off to find out because I want to drive the thing. It's got pressure. I'm going to let it ride. If I do see eventually a wheel cylinder leaking, I'll show you guys what that looks like. Evidence of it, you can look at the back of your wheel and you can see it sometimes dripping down the inside of your wheel. Sometimes you can see it on your backing plate. It really just kind of depends. The good thing is I don't feel like they're froze up, but they could be. Those are things that we'll figure out as we drive it. Old girl will tell us what it needs, what she needs. Sorry, Sully is this one's name, so it's not a girl, it's a boy. So Sully will tell us what he needs as we drive it. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. One of the other things I noticed is the rear, while I was under it, the rear brake emergency cable is routed incorrectly. It wasn't an issue when it was at stock height, but now that it is at a lowered stance, it is causing it to kind of bow out like this, like the leaf springs are going here and it's bowing out and it's rubbing on the inside of the tire. So I might have to disconnect the emergency brake cable under the cab where it splits off and see if I could reroute that over a different way. That's going to be a project, for another video coming up. But like I said, we're down to the wire as far as getting this thing knocked out and getting it back on the road. This is one thing we could check off the list. The only other thing is I got to do my alignment. I'm going to do the whole redneck old school alignment on this thing with tape measures and make sure my steering's straight, get everything locked in. And then I still have to contend with the bump stop, no bump stop issue, which what I'm probably going to do is cutting the bump stops off. And as a precaution, I bought some of those little spring spacers that you slide in there and then twist them, and it raises the spring up. Not to keep it that way permanently, but just in case when I cut the bump stops off, if it lowers down onto the lower control arm even further. I don't know how bad these springs are. If so, that'll at least give me enough up to where I might have some spring travel until I could potentially get air ride or figure out what I'm going to do. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was beneficial. I know it was all over the place, but when you're doing this with a one-man crew, it can get all over the place and it could get hectic. All right. Like, subscribe, follow, share, all the things. There's a button down there somewhere. Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks.